Go ahead and start the recording. Welcome to Design 350 for Tuesday, September 8th, 9 to 10 o'clock. Please note on the lab section, I've got a meeting today at 10, so I'm not going to be able to hold the lab session. So we'll get through our stuff. You're still free to work. I also had trouble getting onto the VMware over the weekend. I don't know why the Design Hub and Design Tech were down. You should know, though, that when you log in, there's like 8 servers available. And you should try a little persistence. I know it's hard, but you're allowed onto any of those. And most of you have had opportunity in the past to work on the Learning Resource Center computers. They have many of the Autodesk products installed. So does electronics. So does fine and applied arts. So you can take a look at some of those and see if you were able to get on. So as an example, so yesterday I was working downstairs on a little Chromebook because it was 110, 115, 120 in my office. And so I was using a Chromebook and needed VMware to get on to do some of the work I was doing, and I was able to do that. Okay, so part of online learning is you're going to have to really learn the online universe and look around for solutions to problems if you run into one. Okay. All right, so there we go. We're ready to get up and at 'em. A few things I want to do. One, I did get everything graded that was, or commented, that was turned in on time by Sunday. So if you made a submittal, you have remarks that you can look at. If not, what you get on Sunday is what you get this next Sunday, right? So let's take a look really quickly and see what's due on Sunday. You've got another professionalism report due, which means that you need to make a submittal to the discussion board this week and comment. If you wait until Friday or Saturday or Sunday to do so, nobody will like you because everybody is waiting. Okay, part of being a professional is getting your job done so that the other people that rely on you can get the job done also. So get that in early, and your portfolio is graded. Okay, this submittal will be graded. So look, I've asked for a minimum of 6 pages. That will be fine for the class. If you're going to work in industry, you should be able to bang all these out, certainly in a week, certainly in 2 weeks, for sure in 3 weeks. So my suggestion is, in order to prepare yourself for industry, and I get it, man, there's a lot going on, but when you're in industry, there's going to be a lot going on, and the stakes are a little bit higher and stuff. So this is your chance to practice. Get yourself your time. Make sure that nobody's going to bother you. That's probably the hardest part. And get these things done. You know, these 6 sets should be easy. These should be easy. This one a little bit harder. Get these things done as best you can. You need the minimum of 6 pages. Okay, so that's what's coming up on Sunday the 13th. I want to talk a little bit about the home base. A lot of people are sending questions my way, and I'm just sending you right back to the home base. So here's what the home base is. It's a Canvas site. You all have it. If you're listed as a design tech, anything in tech ed as your pathway, You should have a Canvas site. If you don't, let me know and I'll report it to Shane and he'll get you on there. But these home bases are sort of like one-stop shop for you and a person. That's the most important part. You know how all these online things, you never get to talk to a person? There's a person. And that person is Shane Lipscomb. He has been, he's our drone ops supervisor. He's run the administration for the English department. He's a professor for design technology. And now he's full-time putting himself towards developing the home base for tech ed. Okay? You can schedule appointments with counselors, petition for graduation, do all these types of things. But the main thing is, if you don't know what to click or you're not getting served, go to his virtual office or go to a chat and he'll be there. Also, check this out. He's got some things coming up, home-based mixer and things like that. So where you can just all get together and hang out together, all the tech ed gurus and cool people. So this is your first place to go. He's got tons of resources. Some students were having trouble with Chromebook, so he put together the Chromebook help link to the LRC. They actually get it and do a pretty good job. I called them up just to see what was going on. And I did the online chat. So make use of this. It's there for you. It's on your dashboard. And if it's not on your dashboard, let me know and I'll make sure it gets on your dashboard. Actually, Shane will make sure it gets on your dashboard. Okay? This is super, super, super helpful. Anybody got questions on that? How many of you are looking to... So, Natalia, you don't have it? I'm going to post if you don't have it, email Shane. No, so this is about school stuff. So drawings and all that kind of stuff are what you see on the Open Lab calendar. Okay, so this is how do you navigate this disastrous administration called American River College? That's like, wow. You know, if you're having payment issues or drop issues or records issues, Shane isn't the person that takes care of those. Shane is the person who knows who takes care of those. And he'll get you to the right person. And often he can help set the appointment so that it's at a time that works. You know how often you need something in a week and they say, well, we can see you sometime in 6 weeks at some awful time you can't go. Okay. So there we go. So that's, so right down there, Shane Lipscomb, and he'll be useful for you. Okay, let's take a look and see what we're working on today. It's a plot plan still. This is our last week of plot plans. We've sort of eased into the system. Oh, I want to give you one other thing to do too. So I'm going to put it on here. Okay. So we've talked about plot plans. We're going to go over the standards again on Thursday just to make sure you've got them all right. Most of the drawings I was seeing looked pretty good. Your property lines were on thick or 0.028 or a fairly heavy one. Your topo lines were lighter. Your text was the right size. Overall, the ones that I saw looked like pretty good plot plans. Of course, those are ones that you should be able to whip out really quick. And so it's all about practice. But we'll go over the standards one more time on Thursday. But I want to talk today about how plot plans are used. And I'm going to give you a reference document here. And this one's, I think that there's one newer one. This one is December of 2017. So they're probably working on the new one right now. These come out usually every 3 or 4 years. Okay, and this is part of the general plan. But I'm just going to go Control F. You guys all know about that. And look up acre. And there's 85 places where acre is mentioned. Okay, so if you don't think that knowing the area of a lot or area of a development or the area of anything is important, I don't know what world you're living in. Look, just acre, 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 acre. And that's acre. And I bet you if I do square foot, well, there's other ones too. Dwelling. 35 places where it tells you dwellings per unit acre. Dwellings per unit acre. Dwellings per unit acre. Dwellings per acre. Dwellings, units at a density per acre. Or 40 acres per unit. Okay, so we know that max number of dwellings per or buildings is important. That's what land planning is all about. Now, I've made a suggestion that perhaps there ought to be other items included in our land planning thoughts. And as we get more into the land planning segment and we talk about what should you consider when you do land planning, we'll consider things like economics, sustainability, green, and of course what's been totally ignored over the last 200 or 300 years are social conditions. And really, we're coming to understand that social conditions are driven by land planning. Is it too late to sign up for Engineering 315? I do not believe it's too late, but you might need a permission number. So I would contact the, so that's a good question, Benjamin. Please contact the professor. You can go to the schedule and get her name, or I'll try to find it before I buzz out. Yeah, you can see, right? Like, how do you read this thing? How do you find your keywords? How do you do the Control F? What program do you want to do it in? How do you mark these up? How do you annotate these? How do you figure out things that you don't know? That's the biggest part of reading. The biggest part about reading is knowing what you don't know or learning what you don't know. And that's really, really hard to do. And that's one of the things that they talk about on this. So yeah, the English reading 315, it's going to be kind of important because I'm pointing you at this document. I expect you to go through it and check out some of these keywords. Maximum, dwelling, building, pad area, parking, permeable, non-permeable, incident, stormwater. I'm giving you the keys to look up here, and I'm expecting you to do the study to do that, because we know that these all are things that rely on area. So the question is, how do you do an area calculation? Okay, well, these are slope and grade calculations, which we'll talk about when we do topography. But these are typical area calculations. Okay, enter square feet to find acres, enter acres to find square feet, areas of a rectangle in whatever units you're doing. So if you've got 200 by 320, of course, it gives you an area. And then if you want to find how many acres that is, you would type in 64, 1, 2, 3, and you would find out it's 1.469 acres. So that's how you use this. And triangles are the other thing. So if you're estimating an area, you can just draw rectangles around it and find out how big they are. Or you can get closer by using rectangles and triangles and just add them all up. So this is a simple little calculator that you can use. The other way is to use Revit or AutoCAD directly, or even DWF. I wonder if I can do a DWF one here really quick. Let me see if I've got DWF viewer. I've got Revit design review. I do have it. So I'm not sure this is going to work. It needs a newer version. Let me see if I can find a DWF in all of my stuff here that I can open up there. I think I can. Let's see if this one opens up and I can just show you how to find an area really quickly. So there's something, and I can go to Markup and Measure, and one of these is area. Click, click, click. That's why you have these markers at each corner where things change. And I think, did that give me the area? That's how you do it in AutoCAD too. Oh, it's in square inches. How do I change that to square feet? Anybody know how to take that and change it to square feet? There's probably a units I can do on here. Well, I have my number. And so you divide it by 144 to get square feet, right? So that's basically how you're able to find areas using a drawing. Click, 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 click. In Revit, of course, if you put property lines around it, it gives you the area. Or you can use a region to find an area. So those are all things that you're supposed to know how to do already. So I'm just giving you a little bit of a reminder of how to find areas using this. But if I were to do this as a finding rectangles, right? I just kind of like make a basic rectangle of this thing. Let me do it again. Let me do another area. So do you see how that is a rectangle and there's two little triangles to subtract? And that would give me a pretty close estimate. Okay, so with a couple of quick measurements, I could figure this one out. Any questions on that? Yes, there's an area command in Autocad that's under the measure bar. So if you type measure and then type area, or just type area, and it's the exact same thing. Click, 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 and it'll give it to you in whatever units your drawing is in. Isn't that cool? Or what's another way you could do it? You could make a polyline and then make it a region and click on the region and it'll give you the area. Or you could make a hatch over it and click on the hatch and it will give you the area. And for those of you who haven't taken it, this is Design 310. It's all these tools that you can use to get these things. Benjamin, I'm going to expect that the exact same thing happens in Dynascape, or Natalia. You're our two sort of Dynascape pros. Is it the same thing in Dynascape? Click, 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 and it gives you an area. Right. Yeah. And so it's a lot like Revit, that like when you make an area, you can just click on the edge of it and it tells you all about that area, right? Um, so these are just kind of cool, but look, it gives me what my square inches are. So if I needed to, there's got to be a way that I can set this thing for square feet. Oh, units. Ha ha ha. Units of the drawing for which they're published. Okay. So I'd have to scale this thing if I wanted to turn it into feet, square feet. So I don't want to do that. So I'll just take this number here that you see that I've got over there, and I'll put it into my land planning calcs. And then I'll do it equals that divided by 144. So that's my square feet. acres, 21.5 acres. So maybe it would be a good idea to put that onto here. Let's go. Oops. And you guys know how to do this, right? Square inches to square feet, divide by 144. Square feet to square inches, multiply by 144. Sorry about the phone ringing. It's a guy wanting to build a fence for me. And I don't have my ringer turned off right now. Okay, so you guys can make that look pretty, but you should be able to do these types of calculations because those are just arithmetic. And set up your own thing. You can make a copy of this and set it up and start using it. Okay, are there any other questions or ideas about how to get areas? I mean, they're important, right? Super, super important on how to get this stuff. Some of the other things that they're important for is the max building pad area. Now, you got to really dig to find this one. Some places call it building land ratio, some floor area ratio, some building pad ratio. Some just put it as part of your permeable to non-permeable ratio, percent area. But basically, depending on your zoning, you can only build so much building on it. If you've got a 1 acre building, how big is an acre? Let's find out. 45 something or other. 1 acre is 43,500. So if you've got 1 acre of land, you can't build 43,000 first floor building on it. There's just no room for anything else. And a lot of planning has to do with how much open space do we still want in our neighborhood to make it look nice and look good. And most planning has some sort of slow transition between open agriculture and highly dense urban area. So rarely will you see, 500 acres of farmland and in the middle of it, a densely packed tower 10 stories high with 100 units in it, just out in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't work that way. So we want to know the max building pad area, and that's based on the area of your plot. And then once you've got your building, you need to know the parking area. Now in residential, that's going to be your garage plus your driveway normally. Okay? And most building development plans will limit the amount of parking. That's sort of how they limit the number of people that can live in a building. So the federal rules are, if you've got anybody know, if I've got a 5-bedroom house or apartment or condominium, anybody know how many people can actually live in that place? The answer is 11. Federal housing law says it's a 2+1. So if you've got something that is permitted as a bedroom, every bedroom is allowed 2 people, and then you're allowed 1 more person to live in there. So you've got 11 people that can live there. So a lot of towns and cities and neighborhoods don't want 11 people living there. They're afraid that they'll get subversive or undesirable elements, which can be anything. But in Davis right now, that's considered a student. People do not want students living in their areas. They're nice, beautiful communities. Now, I happen to have a house next door to me that has 4 bedrooms, and there are 9 people living there. And there's parking for 4 cars, 2 in the driveway, 2 in the garage. And there really is no street parking because I live on a cul-de-sac, and for some reason they located the driveways in such a way on this cul-de-sac that you really can't park on the curb because it either blocks one driveway partly or the other driveway partly if people back out straight. Okay, so they're sort of stuck. They've got 11 people or 9 people living there and four cars. Now, the students that lived there before were pretty smart. 2 had motorcycles, 2 had tiny cars, and 3 of them had sort of normal sized cars. And I think one of them must have worked as a valet. They did the most amazing job of parking 6 or 7 vehicles in this really 4 vehicle parking area. They were amazing. Somebody needed to leave. They played these musical cars thing. So parking area is important, whether it's residential. If you look at our DT 100 thing, did anybody do what I asked? Anybody got the answer? How many places should be in that parking lot? I'm not giving you the answer. You're supposed to look it up. Okay, hopefully by Thursday somebody will find out if that is in County of Sacramento and that's a small commercial building, how many parking spaces are in there. And you're going to find that it depends on what that building is used for, so you have to make that up. So parking area depends on lot size or building pad size or a combination of lot size, building pad size, and use. Most areas have a fixed amount of permeable and non-permeable ratio that you can go up to. Okay? So permeable is what? What does permeable mean? Somebody look it up. And this is where you would take notes if you were reading a standard. You go, permeable, non-permeable? I don't know. Somebody tell me what permeable means. Come on, you guys. Somebody must be able to get onto Google and look it up. Take 10 seconds. Or I'll give you an example. Where? Oh, there it is. Got it. That was weird. Mine didn't refresh. Okay. There we go. So if I've got 1 acre, okay, and I've got a zone that says that I have to have 40% permeable, how many square feet have to be permeable? Okay, so I've got a lot that is 1 acre, and my standard says minimum 40% permeable. How many square feet has to be permeable? So I get somewhere around 17,000-ish, 17,200, something like that, right? An acre is about 43,000 square feet. And if it has to be 40% permeable, it's 40% of that. Okay. So if I've got 17,000 square feet that I can build on, and if I've got, let's say I need parking for 4, how many square feet is that going to be? Parking for 2 is about 20 by 20. So parking for 4 is about 20 by 20 times 2. So that's 400 times 2, 8. So about 1,000 square feet. So that puts me down at 16,200 that I can build. Well, that's an awful lot, right? So I go, wow, man, I could put 2 places on there, which means that I would need 2,000 square foot of parking for each. So I'd be 4,000, 13,000. That would give me 6,500 for each building pad that I could build. Now that's getting pretty good because you've got other stuff besides the house and the parking. You've got your pool in the backyard. You've got your patio in the backyard. You might even say, well, maybe I'd like 50% permeable. So this is how the area calculations get used, and especially when you're doing your stormwater pollution prevention plan. The more permeable area that you've got, the fewer problems you've got with your plan. Okay, you don't need swales, you don't need retention ponds, you don't need all that if you're at a certain permeability area. So that's another item where lot area is important. So this is all going back to why do we draw plot plans and why do we list the area? How about utility sizing? Why would I need to know that the area of the lot for the utility sizing? Anybody got a good guess? Okay, well here's how it works. And I know some of you took Design 310 from either me or Professor Aguilar, so you would have some of these things down a little bit. When you're doing utilities for a development, where do they go? Good guess, Natalia, but I'm gonna go a different direction from that. Okay. So let's say I'll go back to where I live again. I'm in Davis, and they built this development back in the 70s where I live. I've actually been born and raised in Davis. So I remember when this development was built. I was like 10 or 11 years old. That's giving you a hint on when I was born. And I used to actually come out here and play around in the ditches that they were digging when they were putting these developments in. And of course, the ditches were pretty deep. They were pretty big. What goes in the ditches that they dig when they're doing the site work? Cold water pipes, sanitary drain pipes, gas pipes, electrical lines, all that kind of stuff is underground. And they have what are called main trunks, big old pipes going down the biggest streets with branches coming off to the small streets, with smaller branches going off to each 2 or 3 properties, and then a line from some sort of a junction to each individual property. And it works that way, whether it's water, sanitary drain, which is sewage, gas, electric, fiber optics. And so look, when they were planning the development, they didn't know exactly how things were going to get built. They didn't know that my lot would be a certain way or another lot would be a certain way. And they certainly had no idea that the people who owned my lot would put a big old second story on it, and the people down the street would extend the garage to have 2 more rooms, and the people over on the right would put a big old thing on so they could have 8 or 9 people living there. So when you design a development, you have to design to those maximums. What's the biggest building pad? And then per code, what are the biggest number of bedrooms that could be on it? And that would give you the biggest number of toilets that need to be on it. And each toilet would have to be figured out to be kind of a crummy toilet, not the best toilet, so that it uses X amount of water. And same with showers and sinks and all this kind of stuff. And so you go through these estimates based on the max building pad, the max people, the max permeable area. And since you don't know how any one lot would be, you plan for the worst. And the worst is always based on some maximum based on the lot sizes. Okay, so all of these things get done at the very beginning. Now, will most of you deal with this? Probably not. You probably won't have to deal with a lot of this, but you will have to deal with these types of things that as you're doing a change, you're not violating one of the maximums that's on there. You do have to look at on each site how big the water supply is and the drain size is. So as an example, when they did put on the second story on the house that I live in now, they sort of didn't plan for the future very well, and they did not upgrade the sanitary drain size. And it was within specs, but it was right at the limit, right at the maximum limit. And of course, 40 years later, 30 years later, there's tree roots breaking into the drain, and there's cracks, and there's places where it's sloped out. And so clogs up pretty quick, no matter what we did. We'd root it out, we'd bore it out, we'd flush it out. I got some of those pigs that expand and then use some pressure to drive it out. It just wasn't good enough because it was right to the limit by code, and it just wasn't quite working. So we ripped it out and we went up a size, put all new stuff in, went in with a larger size. Why do you think I went in with a larger size? Anybody got an idea? So I've already got another size on there. I've already got a second story and all that kind of stuff. Well, here's the thing, and you guys should you probably do know about this, but the state of California about 4 years ago started a real drive to make local planning commissions densify areas with tiny homes. They call them granny flats, secondary buildings, things like that. And so we upsized in case we ever want to put in a granny flat or another little 300 square foot. In Davis, they set it, I think, at 375 square feet. Yep. And more people, Natalia is absolutely right. More people do produce more water. Well, we use more water. We certainly produce more demand on the cold water supply and the sanitary drain. And the same goes with electricity, same goes with gas, same goes with fiber optic. More people means more demand. So we looked at that and we decided that we would upsize so that if we decided to, or if we sell the place and want to use it as a selling point, that we've got a stronger thing, then we're good. So there's a little bit of work about why these are important. And then of course, another big one, why you need areas, are irrigation requirements. Now, around here, they don't use this measurement nearly as much, but in Southern California, they use it a lot, and it's actually a really good planning tool. And that's inch of water per square foot per week. So landscapers who understand plants and zones and how you do your plantings, they group plants sort of by water usage a lot, so that you have zones that have a typical water usage. That way you're not overwatering one plant while underwatering another, all in one area. Well, the way that you plan for how much water you need to the site is inches of water per square foot per week. And that's kind of weird, but all of that, if you do calculations, will turn into gallons per week. And then if you know what a typical watering cycle is for that area, yes, a hydro zone, right? So good. Natalia is getting my terminology right for me. If you know what the watering cycles are like in an area and how they're typically done. So I did most of my irrigation work for municipal and state areas in Southern California, like big medians on the highways and big parks. Griffith Park was one where I did a lot of work. We called it Homey Park was another one, because whenever we'd go there, everybody, you know, they knew we were not one of the homies that lived there. So we actually took escorts of people that actually lived there, so that people wouldn't get all bugged out when we were working on stuff, because they were hooking up showers to our valves and drinking fountains to our valves and things like that, and we'd have to take them off to do the work. Um, so anyway, they would use this type of a thing to know in general for the park. And as an example, at one of the parks, they were watering this god awful cycle, and they would water like crazy 3 times a week. And we got them to water in a much better cycle once, 5 times a week, and to use much less water and to reduce the overspray and all that kind of stuff. And we were able to keep their pipes from having to be changed out for about 4 years. So they were having too much friction loss with the amount of water they were using at any one time. And so we were able to change their inches of water per square foot based on their inches of water per square foot per week to redo their watering cycle periods. So that's a big deal. And again, there you go. It's per square foot, which gives you a volume. And away you go there. Okay? So that's a little bit about how plot plans are used. Of course, they're used for much more than that. They're used for layouts. They're used for where to place things. They're used for grading. But this is the area portion of it. And I want you to be good at finding areas. And please go through this reference document and use these keywords to find things out. Okay, lots of keywords. I don't know that there's irrigation in that document. If one of you guys wants to tell me if there's an irrigation standard for the county, irrigation and planting standard, and where it is. And I'm using the county just because I find their site is just a little bit easier to work on than the city site. Okay. Any questions on that before I go on to the last one? Yeah, yeah, yes, they absolutely do. And so as you're laying in your requirements for an area, or for as you're laying in your piping, what would you pick as the case that you would size your piping on? Yeah, you would use it. Yeah, you would take your so here's and I think Chayla would agree with me, but this is how we do buildings, this is how we do land, this is how we do mechanical. You size your backbone, the skeleton, the underground stuff for the worst, highest case usage that you could think of. And then your device controllers are where you start applying the good water saving, water sense principles. Does that make sense? Right, right. And it sort of makes sense. Let's say you're worried about friction loss. Well, that's all about you got to, your maximum GPM at any one time. And, you're going to have your biggest pipe. And then if you don't use that much, well, you've got your pressure reducing valves, or you water for a shorter period of time because you've got more flow out of your head, or whichever way you go about reducing your water use. You do that either in your controller or with the head that you put on but not with the size of your pipe. You wouldn't go, well, I'm going to make sure they hardly use any pipe, and I'm going to put 1/4-inch pipe all through my yard. That way nobody can ever use very much, right? Well, now if you're doing a drip zone, you're automatically doing that, right? But a drip zone is a drip zone because you've planted it that way. But the size of your pipe that goes up to your controller is still big in case somebody takes that drip zone away and puts in a creek. Does that make sense? So up to your controller, you take your biggest, and then after your controller, you put your drip sizes and your smaller things and your pressure reducing valves and all that kind of stuff. Cool. Okay, last thing, and then I've got to go to my other meeting, and you guys can just work away. I got this working, Minecraft education, and I do have some get ready projects. So you are going to be doing survey in Minecraft education. I can teach you GPS style surveying and drone style surveying through Minecraft. I can do it. I'm working on the game so that you can use a site to take your recordings. So at some point, though, you have to learn how to take survey data and lay it out, and vice versa, how to get survey data from a site and draw it in a drawing. So you're going to learn those two things, and you're going to do it in Minecraft. So where do you go for Minecraft? There's two places to go. First, if you Google Minecraft education, you should find that your WID number gets you an account. Okay? If you go to VMware, so we have Minecraft list loaded. You can either load your own Minecraft educational. It works on Chromebook, PC, Mac. I think it even works on Xbox, but I'm not positive. Or you can go on to the VMware, and we've got it loaded on our computers. And then it'll ask you to log in. You use your W number. Now, I've already got an account that I've had for a while, so I'm not positive how that works. So that's what I'm asking you to do, is try to log on and see what it looks like and what account it's looking for. I do know that your WID at apps.losrios.edu, whatever however you get your Gmail on campus, is supposed to, your W number is supposed to give you a Minecraft education account. Once you've got that, you can either download. I just downloaded it onto my computer, but I did get onto it on Saturday using VMware, and I've done it on my computer. And I have a world set up, and there's some coordinates to go to, and you're going to be given some things to do. But for right now, for a week or two, I want you to get in there and just kind of like play around. The first step is try to log on. So you can either download, it takes hardly anything. It's a tiny little program. So you can either download it and see if it likes your W number, or go on to our one on VMware and see what it does when you do the W number. And just report back to me. And then we'll get going. Yes, Benjamin asks if the instructor for the English reading is Leah Aaronville, and yes, you've got it. Okay. Any other questions? And I will stress again to you guys, I know it's more work. In the end, for your professional ability to read all these darn Oh my God, standard after standard. You're going to want to be able to do this quickly and get some of these tricks. How do you annotate? And as I read these things, it's like half the time I don't even know what they're talking about. They're using jargon that's specific to land planning, and I don't necessarily know them. And so, I don't know what a general plan land use diagram is. So I have to go look that up somehow and find out what it is. Transit-oriented development. Well, I kind of get an idea because of what the words are, but that might mean something. What's quasi-public? I don't know what that means. Open space and disposal facilities. Well, I kind of think I know what that means, but I don't know. So there's ways of looking these up and ways of annotating these things so you lock in on what you want. Yeah, I know. I won't. They'll hang for me. I'll be 1 minute away. Okay. So, any last questions before I log off? Okay, then rock and roll. I'll either see you in office hours at noon or I'll see you in class on Tuesday. Thank you, folks.